Good Friday morning, everyone. What you're looking at are two books, The Chicken Kabbalah of Rabbi Lamed ben Clifford and The Son of Chicken Kabbalah. Now, I'm sure you're all tired of hearing me plug these books, but I'm very proud of both of them. And I'm going to share a little bit out of this second one here for you today. But I have to warn you that we are expecting a telephone call on our old-fashioned landline here. And it's a very important call. And should the phone ring during my talk today, instead of trying to handle it in front of all of you folks, I will have to cut today's, or at least this morning's section of today's thing short. So be warned, okay? The reason I've got these two books out today is this came out in 2001, The Chicken Kabbalah of Rabbi Lamed ben Clifford. Okay, what you do and do not need to know to be a Kabbalist. Okay, it has been moderately popular. And coming up in 2026, it will be celebrating its 25th anniversary. And in honor of that, a special new edition of it will be coming out with a few little extras involved, and probably a new anniversary kind of celebratory edition. And so I've been working on that and working on the new material for it and such. But it's going to be 2 years before we see that. So if you don't have the Chicken Kabbalah, I suggest you get this one right now. The Son of Chicken Kabbalah is like the workbook of the Chicken Kabbalah. Chicken Kabbalah is like theory. Son of Chicken Kabbalah is like practice. And it includes a 3-degree initiation, self-initiation ceremony. And the ceremony is not only applicable, the 3 sets of initiations are not only appropriate and applicable for self-initiation, but they serve quite nicely as a group ritual workings in a full-blown temple setup with a candidate and the officers and all of that. And the Chicken Kabbalah has literally, or the Son of Chicken Kabbalah literally has scripts for, say, 3 officers and a candidate, or 3 officers and many candidates. And I'm happy to say, I'm surprised to say, that they have been offered over like 3-day weekends in hotels and stuff like that. The experience has been provided initiates all over the world, as a matter of fact. So what I would like to share with you today, before the phone rings, is the phony setup for the phony rabbi and his phony Kabbalistic initiatory society. But the Kabbalah is anything but phony. Okay. Here is from my introduction. It's been 17 years since the release, so now it's much more than that, of the Chicken Kabbalah of Rabbi Ben Clifford, Lamed Ben Clifford, and 21 years since the unexplained disappearance of the controversial rabbi, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, whose unorthodox teachings form the substance of the text. I was initially flattered when asked by my publisher and colleagues to collect and curate the material for what would become that landmark publication. Not only is it still in print, it's still selling very well and is usually among the top Kabbalah books on the market. I'm so surprised. It's such a hard sell. Hey, let's do a phony rabbi. Okay. I never dreamed, however, the assignment would become so challenging or exasperating. Rabbi Lamed Ben Clifford, his real name is still unknown, was a highly eccentric character. His followers, although few in numbers, enthusiastically embraced his non-sectarian doctrines and methods. Unfortunately, for his biographers and future students, he rarely committed any of his discourses to writing. He was hopelessly undisciplined and relied almost exclusively on person-to-person tutoring and informal interactions with a small group of disciples, a few of whom took excellent notes, but most of whom did not. After his still unsolved disappearance in July of 1997, his colleagues were burdened with the ponderous task of sifting through the stacks of scrapbooks and manuscripts that towered floor to ceiling in every room of his otherwise charming Long Island beach house. Directing the labor of collecting and cataloging was Ben Clifford's administrator and magical son, Dr. Gizmo Ben Lamed. I prevailed upon this saintly and good-humored gentleman to be project editor on the Chicken Kabbalah. I'm embarrassed to admit that the popularity of the Chicken Kabbalah came as a complete shock to all of us. From the first week of its release, critics of esoteric literature reacted with extraordinary kindness. Sales figures for CQ, while modest compared to those of sadistic erotic novels or gluten-free cookbooks, continue to tolerably satisfy the publisher, who for the last 10 years, and now he'll be 25, has urged me to write a sequel. Year after year I declined, arguing one cannot get blood from a turnip. There were simply no more Rabbi Lamed Ben Clifford texts to publish. I was secure in my belief that the material available to us when we researched the Chicken Kabbalah represented nearly all the writings, notes, and interviews known at the time to exist. Happily, that is no longer the case. And now I'm setting the stage for this. Rabbi Lamed Ben Clifford, dead at last. The story of how all this new material came to light is as curious as everything else surrounding the bizarre life of this enigmatic holy man. Because his disappearance was unexplained and a body was never recovered, Ben Clifford's estate languished in limbo for many years. Legal disposition of his affairs was postponed a dozen times, triggered by rabbi sightings reported from around the world. Many of these were obvious hoaxes, perpetrated by grief-maddened chicken Kabbalists. Others were disturbingly bizarre and seemed eerily genuine. To this day, many remain unexplained. Perhaps the most dramatic sighting was bolstered by the testimony of Sister Gina Martini and 11 Carmelite nuns in Albany, New York, who in 1999 reported being startled after Vespers by a partially clad intruder matching the rabbi's description, friskily darting in and out of rows of drying laundry in the convent courtyard. 2 years later, police in Orlando, Florida, responded to a disturbance inside the Noah's Ark attraction at the Holy Land Experience amusement park. A man who boldly identified himself as Rabbi Lamed Ben Clifford was subdued and briefly detained for loudly berating a teenage actor portraying the high priest Caiaphas for making lewd comments to the morbidly obese actress portraying Noah's wife. Naturally, each reported sighting had to be followed up by insurance company detectives whose investigations necessitated repeated postponements of legal proceedings. Finally, on April 1st, 2015, Rabbi Lamed Ben Clifford was at last pronounced legally dead by Judge Terrence Stool of the Superior Court of Suffolk County, New York. News of the final disposition stirred little interest in the esoteric community, most of whom, like me, were certain the Chicken Kabbalah would remain the final published exposition of the teachings of Rabbi Lamed Ben Clifford. Then, on the evening of April 30th, 2015, I received a text message from Dr. Ben Lamed. OMG, 3 bags full of LBC goodies found at BNL. Please call ASAP. Apparently zippy real. Signed Gizmo. I immediately phoned Dr. Lamed, who was so excited I could hardly follow the particulars of his rambling narrative. I'll attempt to summarize. Shortly after Judge Stool pronounced Rabbi Ben Clifford legally dead, he discovered a bag of still warm onion bagels on the sunroof of his car in the courthouse parking lot. Inside the bag, he found an envelope containing a tiny key, along with a handwritten note that read as follows. Dear Judge, or whoever declared me legally dead, hello from the other side. Don't freak out. Nobody really dies. You'll find that out. Just don't worry about it. I hope you enjoy the bagels, but please don't eat the key. It unlocks a storage locker number 528 in the kitchen of the cafeteria of Brookhaven National Laboratories here on Long Island. Take the bagel home, but please deliver the key along with this note to my old friend Dr. Gizmo Ben Lamed at 3520 Greenbrier Road in Montauk, and direct him to immediately take possession of the contents of the locker. The contents are really, really cool, interesting, and important. I would write more, but I'm dead, and I keep getting ectoplasm all over the typewriter. Thanks, and have a nice eternity. Signed, the late Rabbi Lamed Ben Clifford. Okay. And the book sort of details what goodies they found at the Brookhaven Institute laboratories in Montauk. That sort of swirls around the Philadelphia experiment, Montauk, New York's time travel, all of that stuff. Anyway, that's where I'm going to bring it to a close, because I think the phone's going to ring here just in a second. And I hope to see you tomorrow for Saturday morning cartoons. Until then, continue to be good to yourself and be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law. Love under will.